Okay, we have a game in the 10 opal. So we're going to open with d4, c4. And, okay, we see g3, so... or g6, rather. So we're going to go for a, I guess, Catalan-ish approach. I know there's going to be some people in the comments who are, like, yelling and screaming, this is not a Catalan, because it's like a Grunfeld sub or whatever. I know, but, okay. We're going to go for this setup. It's a bit dry of an approach for white, but I quite like it, at least in fast time control. So yeah, I'm going to put a knight on, well, first of all, I'm going to exchange on d5, put a knight on e5, and my basic goal is I want to take on c6 at some point. I could even have done it immediately, and I'm just going to aim to play this kind of position where I have a bit of a structural advantage. It's nothing too crazy, but like, you know, I played this sort of stuff as a kid. I haven't played it much in recent years. But yeah, I think it's a decent way to play. So we're gonna do this. So yeah, knight e7. Usually when they play this, they're indicating they want this break with e5. So okay, just gonna start with rook c1. They can get e5. I'll chop. Yeah, the question is what comes after that. But okay, this we're not gonna overthink. We just chop, and yeah. So they have some active looking pieces, so we need to be a little bit careful. I mean, something like 94 is not unheard of already at this point. Point a knight on a square like that. Maybe b3 would not be unreasonable as well. b3, queen d2, rook d1. Reason for b3 is if you go queen d2 immediately, knight c4 could be a bit annoying. So, yeah, seems like it makes some sense. So I'm just gonna play this. And yeah, we won't fuss too much over if this is like the absolute best move. But yeah, just try to play normal looking stuff and shouldn't be too bad of a position. So rook of d1 now. Generally, I think it's worth pointing out in this position there's an interesting dynamic, which is that because of the pawn structure in this position, you guys might want to think about this for yourself first, but for some of you guys it might be obvious, for maybe some of you other guys not so much, but it's always a thing in many positions, like who has the long-term trumps in the position, who has the long-term advantages. And to me, it very much seems like in this type of position it would be white, just because you have these hanging pawns as black. So basically kind of the onus is on black very often to prove that they have something, so to speak. Whereas if they don't, then, you know, longer term, these weaknesses are gonna really shine through. But at the same time, if we're not careful either, then like they might just throw their active pieces at us and like somehow we'll be in trouble. So yeah, I will say e4 is very much an idea that is on my mind right now. I have to be careful though, because the moment I lift my pawn off the e2 square, like my king side gets a little bit weaker. But it could be worth considering. Bishop h6 is a thing, but maybe they just drop back. Yeah, okay, so I'm thinking maybe if I come here, like take, there's like bishop g4 at the end, he in this, and knight f3, so it's kind of putting me off of that whole thing, to be honest. Okay, I'm gonna start, I think, with this move, bishop g5, just a small nudge, kind of ask them what they're doing. Yeah, okay. So I was one of my ideas maybe I can provoke f6 out of them and then that shuts in the bishop a bit. Okay, queen e6. Maybe they're aiming for this one. Now knight a4 could be an idea. If the queen on e6, knight c5 can come with tempo possibly. So they don't mind that, it seems. Okay, let's do it anyway. So one thing I'm thinking about, given what we were talking about earlier, with white kind of having more of the long-term advantage, so to speak, is potentially move like queen f4 even already. Because it's kind of difficult, I think, for them to avoid a queen exchange, and I think, yeah, heading to some sort of ending is probably going to favor us, so yeah, if there's nothing wrong with this, I'm just going to play it. And yeah, see where this takes us. I think that long term, this kind of endgame is gonna again be nice for us because we have weaknesses to play against. We have the better structures, so yeah, that's the thinking behind it. Nothing too sophisticated. Now, maybe there's something concrete we're missing, but it's at least not entirely obvious to me what that might be. Like, you of course have to calculate things because the pieces are active looking, but it's like, what is there also to calculate? Like, if they exchange, I mean, we can just chop. If they chop, then I was gonna say bishop takes. Is there even pawn takes? Probably not, just bishop takes, I think. But okay, then like what? They take here, we take there, and you know, like how many lines can you really calculate, right? So yeah. Okay, they do that. That looks a little suspicious, but okay, I guess. So knight d7. The reason I say that feels really suspicious is it seems like their coordination's all mucked up. Yeah, I mean, just one thing that comes to mind already is like queen f5, bishop f5, and like knight d7, bishop d7, and e4 even. But I think e4 they have d4 actually, so I might want to avoid that. Um, okay. Okay, so I don't have forever to think. I'm just gonna decide to exchange start off with. And yeah, the problem with e4 immediately is knight c5. But is that actually a problem? Let me think. Because there I get e5. I wrote this off at first, but this could actually be very interesting. I mean, they get a pass d pawn, though. I have to be slightly wary of that. But that could actually very much be an interesting option. It's a more imbalanced one compared to, let's just say, take and going rook c2 or rook d2 or whatever. But this one feels very, yeah, ambitious. e4. Take. They'd probably come back knight d7, and I'm thinking there maybe I go bishop h3. And it's quite awkward for them to actually deal with our very active bishops. So yeah, I'm gonna go for this. We give them again like after takes a pass d pawn, so it is risky in some sense, but I quite rate our chances with the bishops. Now that I missed, to be honest. Um, how bummed am I out by that? No, I think I can chop this though, because if they go rook takes, I have rook takes d5 in the end. So I think they kind of got to play this, but that feels tremendously awkward for them. So, okay, yeah, 94 somehow, it's a bit of a oversight, but okay. Yeah, rook e4, I just chop on g6 and then d5. Okay, so here I think I'm going to take once. f6 somehow feels a little bit risky, so okay, rook d7. I don't have forever, so yeah, some of these moves I'm going to need to play a bit quickly. Okay, they're slightly surprising. Let me go bishop. I guess bishop f4. Ooh. Okay, no, I'm just going to go for this. So bishop f4, rook a5. This one I think I take though. And okay, they get rook a8, rook a2 at the end, but then c6 also hangs. So I think I'm willing to take some of these simplifications. pawn up past b pawn at the end of all this. So yeah, I don't think we should be so worried, but okay, how easy is converting this is maybe another question, but I've seen harder things before, so not so worried. Now, like with this one, rook c8, and then here perhaps, possibly. Generally, there is this rule that you don't want to allow too many exchanges of pawns, so I don't know. In principle, I'll play rook b6, rook c8, rook c7 could have also been a thing though. Okay. So let's go start off b4 to b5. The good thing about this position is they don't have a tremendously clear method of counterplay, let's say. So that's the good thing going for us. Really? Wow, okay. Didn't see that, but I guess their idea is bishop d4. So maybe I should have played h4 to prevent that, but I don't know, I'm a bit suspicious of this. Does this really work? Oh wow, rook e6, I just saw some line, but I have no idea if it works. Rook e6, take rook here, bishop d4, king d4. Yeah, I'm pretty skeptical about that though. Okay, I'm just gonna go rook b7. And yeah, this is kind of annoying though. I won't lie. Okay. Wait, actually, let me see if he plays ball and repeats for a second. He might go here. That's possible. Yeah, he does go there. Oof. So am I worried about that? No, here I can go h3 because now f4 g4. He's gonna get mated. Yeah, but okay, I think I saw something where I could have taken on g5 if his king went back, but okay. Saw that a bit too late. Now we have this situation, which is incredibly strange. Okay, so rook c6. What's his point? Okay, b6. I think this is a good turn of events, to say the least. I mean, it was difficult to make a move for him, but I think I'm certainly not complaining about that. Yeah, what do they do? Because it's almost like some weird kind of zugzwang or something here. They're approaching f4. There's always g4. Okay, so they go for that. Okay. Need to make moves. My idea is I want to force the bishop somewhere else where I can gain a tempo on it. And preferably... do I get h4 here? I might get h4. Okay, so... let's take... They do get this, but I think... Oh, or they might do that. But okay, if they go king h4, then this is looking pretty good for us, I think. Rook e4. I think that works. Okay, they go there. Shoot, is this just winning though? Oh, but they get that. This is not the most fun situation to be having with little time on the clock. But, okay, let's take. I think I might have butchered this a little bit, hey. So there, king g3. Yeah, so if there, okay, the good thing is I have rook e5 and rook e6 check. Okay, so this should be winning. if not for the clock situation. But I think okay, even with this little time on the clock, we should be able to win. Should be pretty straightforward, but yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a pain. Um, yeah, I didn't even consider that. Okay, but good thing you couldn't take that. Okay, so now what here? Okay, and now I walk through here. Or actually, even this is technically a threat. So it probably has to come here, but I still do this walk anyway. Okay, maybe the other way actually, because that way I threaten bishop f6. Fuck. Okay. Shouldn't be swearing, but yeah, rook c6, bishop f6 still. Yep. Okay. And now, okay, this should be good. Okay, so yeah, an interesting game. Again, like I didn't even properly talk about the opening. I mean, 10 plus 0 is so quick it feels like bull almost. Um, maybe that's a bit hyperbole, but yeah, okay. Like when we go g3 here, like we are committing to a fianchetto setup against both like a King's Indian and also a Grunfeld setup where they put a pawn on d5. But one of these setups they can go for is not going for an immediate d5, which is playable, but also going for c6 and then d5. Some, I guess, sources call this the solid Grunfeld against the fianchetto approach. And I mean, this is also possible in other openings where you can mix c6 and d5 like a Slav setup with g6. But it's in particular very solid against like g3 setups. And yeah, to be honest, it's one of the, I guess you could say, reasons I kind of stopped playing a lot of g3 against like g6 sometimes. Like these days, I, to be honest, prefer knight c3 more in this position. But it's not so much like the King's Indian, it's more the specific kind of setup I find a little bit annoying. But that being said, I used to play this stuff for ages and absolutely enjoy it. So like, uh, don't take it as like a fiend if you're like 1800 or whatever, like you can't play this because of some like minor like thing. Like just get that out of your head. Like it doesn't matter, right? But it is a solid approach, and I will say like here for example, the most probably the thing they usually should be trying to do against like, because there's also like a few different move orders. I could go castles and then 95 instead of going knight c6 like they did in the game. Usually what they want to do is 94 and just kind of copy you. So like knight c3, I think 94 here as well. The difficult thing is with this particular move order I did, 94 doesn't really look like it's possible because I can take twice. So this is like a slightly devious thing that I did. But okay, you could go 94 first. But even in this position, I turned the engine on. I think 94 probably isn't that bad. Because there's some like weird stuff if you take twice, like knight c6. This is like not that unusual to be honest for a Grunfeld. Like the Grunfeld's one of these openings which it can often like you have a lot of these like pawn sacrifices to somehow force your way to equality. So yeah, it's not completely surprising that exists, but also like for most of you guys watching this, like your opponents are not gonna play like this. Like they just aren't. So knight c6 here and bishop f5 is pretty normal, but this is also kind of a position we're pretty happy to see in. Hopefully my face isn't blocking the way, but I'll just play around with it to make sure you guys can see the database at least. So this is the Masters one, but let me change it to the Lichess and I don't know, let's do something like this. So like 1800 plus. Okay, it's actually not as high as I thought, but maybe if I adjust it like like this position, yeah, you can see, maybe not, let me raise my face for a brief second, but you can see the white in general has a pretty healthy plus score from these sort of structures. Yeah, I've personally always enjoyed the white side of this kind of position. You just have like that small positional advantage with a better pawn structure. Now, the engine, is it going to say like you're winning? No, of course not. Like, it's nothing too crazy, but it's definitely something you can play for some sort of long-term advantage. But yeah, these sort of positions are interesting. Like I went b3 here. Knight e4 was the other move I think we're talking about. You can see that's very much a thing. E4 is a controversial move. It's very much one we should be thinking of, because like if you can just get this, like for example, you're in business, right? Like this is an absolute ideal transformation. This even in of itself is still like, okay, they have an isolated pawn, but okay, you can see like in the database, or maybe my face is covering it now. But like knight d3 is like a very common move, and they have like all sorts of dynamic